You've heard time and time again from people around you that your business needs to have an Instagram. Especially in 2023, being on social media is really important. And especially in the hair and beauty industry, Instagram with its visual look is such a strong place to have your business. You've decided to bite the bullet and set one up, but now you've run into a problem, which is, what do you post? Instagram is such a great platform, and over the past few years it's really diversified kind of what's on there. From it used to be just simple square images, and now there's reels and stories and carousels and just so many different types of content. And I know a lot of businesses struggle with, how can you look at the different types of content you can post, and how can that be applied to the hair and beauty industry. Making sure you're using a variety of content is so important to creating a successful Instagram. And what we talk about when we say a successful Instagram account is, one that reaches the right audience, the one that gives engagement and interactions from your followers, and one that ultimately delivers results, whether that result is them seeing your posts more often and then following you, to then going to your website or straight to your online booking page and making a booking. If you want to learn more about, what types of posts that you could be doing, this is the interview for you, because I'm here with Kirsten from Savvy Salon Marketing, and she's going to give us the rundown on the diverse types of content that you could be posting. So, Kirsten, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us more about why it's so important to diversify the content that you're posting?
Okay, big question, but I've got all the answers for that.
Perfect.
As always, I've got plenty to say. Super important to diversify your content, and by diversify that means there are so many different formats of content in the Instagram environment that you could choose from to use on your Instagram account. The key thing here is that obviously there's just a myriad of content out there. And you will all know that from your own scrolling through social media, and you just get distracted and you get things thrown at you, and you want people to stop scrolling and go, oh, on your post. And so, you've got to meet people where they're at. So if you think about the people that you want to follow your salon, if you take, this is your salon here, you want people in the immediate area to your salon to be the followers, because they are the ones that are going to be the potential clients. There's no point having, hundreds of thousands of followers, but they're all on the other side of the world. So that's just a vanity metric. Better to have fewer followers that are quality and in your area and more likely to walk into your salon. So you want to appeal to those people, but you want to meet them in the content formats that interest them the most. And obviously there's no one size fits all, so that makes it nice and complicated, but that's why we've got different formats that we'll talk about today. So as you said, Instagram has the opportunity to diversify, and it does feel that what started out to be a photo sharing app has evolved over time, and it's gone stories were the thing to push, and now it's reels are the things to push. There was IGTV, which was video, but now actually it's all changed, and anything that moves on Instagram is considered a reel. So that's kind of simplified things in some respects, but actually what we're hearing now is that photo images are starting to make a comeback. So one thing that you will find with Instagram is they are constantly changing and evolving their focus. At the moment, if you're producing something that moves, Instagram will reward you for that, and it will push the content out rather than if it's just a still image. But don't think that still images won't have any impact, because they will. So it's just one thing to keep in mind. And just while we're here, I will talk about Instagram Threads, because that's the latest thing that Instagram has thrown out there. And don't be distracted by Instagram Threads. It is another app, but it's in competition to Twitter, which is not a big thing for us in New Zealand and Australia. But it's really just a way of viewing information. So kind of just put Threads over there and don't worry about that for now. Just focus on the main Instagram format that we're talking about here. So guess also, I've written a blog post which will be up on the Kitomba website later, and it's got 10 different ways of diversifying your contents. There's a lot to take in, so I'm just going to cover them really briefly here, and then I highly recommend that you download that blog because there's a lot of information in there. Now, I can hear people going, oh, so I have to master 10 formats of content. Well, no, you don't. It's like anything. Even if you're highly skilled and been on Instagram for a long time, or if you're just starting out, just pick one or two formats that you feel comfortable with and master those. The key is to just do fewer things better. And then when you feel good with that and you're in the rhythm, then maybe kind of branch out into something else. And if it's just images that you feel comfortable with while you get into the rhythm of posting regularly, just do that. As I said earlier, videos or anything that moves gets rewarded, but it doesn't have to be a video. It could be an animated post. So we'll just go through all of that now. So obviously the first one, I've just mentioned it, is captivating photos. And there's so much that you can take a photo of in your salon. It could be you, your team, your salon, different angles of your salon, products, outside of your salon, clients before and afters. There's heaps and heaps and heaps of different photo images that you could take. And then I was just thinking, with your trusty old phone, if you're taking an image and you can scroll through to the portrait version of taking a photo, all it does is kind of blur the background and just brings to the foreground what it is you're taking the photo of. Very easy to do. It's just one simple setting, but actually can make quite a difference to what you're taking as a photo. Also, don't feel that it has to be a full-scale production of a photo. Good to have good lighting, good to make sure that the resolution is clear, but it's important just to tell a story from that one image, so people can see what's going on, and then obviously your post caption will sort of do a bit more of the heavy lifting. So that's photos. That's an obvious place to start. The next one is videos. So like I said before, anything that moves is considered a reel, and what we have in the Instagram platform is a Reels tab. So you have your main feed with all the different squares, and then obviously you have Reels, which are in a portrait version. So that kind of makes life slightly tricky, because you're creating a portrait video, but then it may not fit necessarily on your Instagram feed to start with. But there are other ways around that. That captivating photo that you took earlier could be the cover image to the reel that sits behind. So that's a whole different topic altogether. But, reels, again, a reel can be something that just moves, as opposed to, an animated sort of video, as opposed to a full-scale production. But a reel could be walking through your salon. So you are outside of your salon, you open the front door, you walk through and you take people through a little tour of the salon. Or, excuse me, you might show an area within your salon, like the retail area, for example, and you just sort of pan around and things like that. So just play around with it. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, and you do have options within the within the Instagram app to kind of, tidy it up a wee bit. But, again, just play around with it. Think of different ideas of how you could keep people interested with different reels, or different videos, and just see what happens there. The next one is a really cool one, which is often quite is sort of forgotten, and it's storytelling with stories. So if you, in your mind's eye, think of your Instagram account, and you've got your bio at the top, and then you've got these little round sort of what we call story highlights. You can save your stories to the story highlights. So ordinarily a story will last for 24 hours, and you may only want it to last for 24 hours. But if you want it to last longer, you can save it to a story highlight. And if you create a number of stories, you can create a story within the story highlight. So it might be an easy win would be a story highlight that says team, and you might have 5 staff, for example, or 5 team members. So you do a story from each one, save it to the story highlight. Someone clicks on the highlight and it tells a little story about each person. So you can do that for your salon. You can do that for promotions. You can put your price list there. So things that you want to last. But from a strategic standpoint, rather than just having one story and saving it, you can tell a story within a story. So that's cool. But you've got to make sure that it's not something that's time sensitive. So you don't want to have, hey, in July, we've got this amazing promotion, and then you save it because someone may come along and go, oh, there's a promotion. I want that promotion, but actually it's passed. So you've just got to make sure that if you do keep it there, you've got to take it away if it's time sensitive. Just in terms of stories themselves, stories are really cool and they're super easy. And I highly encourage everyone to just get into stories because you can't overdo stories. They don't have to be on brand. They can be fun. They can be interesting. And inside the Instagram app, there's a whole lot of engagement tools, I guess, in there. So you can get people to click onto links and go through to your website or through to your booking page. You can do things like interactive content. So you can have a poll or ask a question, do you like dogs or do you like cats? And just do something really interesting and see what comes up. And then you can post about it and go, hey, 90% of you love cats or something like that. So it might sound kind of insignificant and irrelevant, but people kind of love it because they just don't want to be sold to all the time. And they want to see the kind of the fun side of you. So I mean, if you want to keep it relevant to your business, you can still keep it fun by, who double cleanses their skin at night, yes or no, and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot of interactive tools in there. You can have little GIFs of people doing stuff and music, obviously, and captions and stuff. So play around in there. But stories are cool for brand awareness and getting you front and center. They appear on a person's Instagram feed at the top. You'll probably know yourself. There's lots of little circles up there. And, if you're there all the time, actually you're top of mind all the time. And then, you can get people to go through to your website. So stories are really cool, really easy. You can never make a mistake with stories. The next one is expressive carousels. Now, carousels are a little bit more work, but they're super cool if you've got a story that you want to tell or a message that you want to get across. And you can do that in a series of static posts, so just photos, if you like, but you string them together so that they become a carousel and people swipe through. Now, if it's interesting enough, they will swipe through. And so instead of trying to pack something into one post and one post caption, it's just an engaging way of keeping people on your post. And if you can keep them on your post a little bit longer and scrolling through, and they might scroll back and start again, and then they read through again, could be an interesting tip or something that they can do to care for their skin or their hair or whatever. If they spend time there, then the Instagram algorithm goes, oh, this person is excited, is interested in this content. I'm going to give them more content from this person because it's indicated to me that they like that. So one of the things that you want to do, and I said it before about being scroll stopping, is if you hesitate on a post or stop and have a look, the Instagram algorithm picks that up and says, right, that person likes this content. So beware if you stop on something that you're not particularly interested in, but you wanted to see what it was about. You might tell the Instagram algorithm to feed you up more of that when you in fact didn't want it. But so carousels are a really good way of getting lots of information across, but in little bite-sized chunks. They're more work because there's more posts to create, but worthwhile. And then obviously if you're starting to play around with these different formats and you land on your Instagram account, someone lands there, there's different formats of content, and then you'll slowly be able to see what content format is preferred over the others. The next one is called user-generated content, and you may have seen that. That's UGC. Basically, that's just a fancy marketing term for getting your clients to create content and then post it on your account or give it to you to post on your account. That's not as easy, I find, in the salon industry. It just depends because obviously not everyone wants to be identified as going to a salon. They don't necessarily want to show their before and after because sometimes the after doesn't look immediately as good as the before, depending on what you've had done. So but you could do things like run a competition and just say, hey, take a photo of yourself outside of our salon and, post that up and tag us in or something like that. So Yeah, so think about ways that you could get user-generated content. Instagram loves it. It's original, it's authentic, it's not stock images, and it just shows that people are engaging with your account. The next one is, and I've talked about this before, and this is more of a content topic than a content format, but it's kind of educational and informative posts. So, as I said earlier, people just don't want to be sold to all the time. And that doesn't necessarily mean, hey, we've got a promotion, buy this. But it's what's of value to the people that come to your salon? What do they want to know about? I mean, if they're coming because they want to change their hair, improve their hair, change their style, get extensions, go longer, whatever it is, give them the information that they're looking for, and that positions you as the authority. It doesn't have to be a big, long blog or anything like that, but just a series, maybe once a week, do an informative post or an educational post on a skin tip, or how to look after your skin in winter, or what to do with your hair in winter, or we're preparing for spring. So what's the next tip there? So just think about an issue that's of concern to people who are following you and people who you want to follow you, and draw them in and show them that you are more than just offering services and treatments. There's a lot more that sits behind it from your salon, and it positions you as the authority, as I said before. So you can never go wrong with education and informative posts, and carousels work really well for that sort of thing, because you might be able to give them the 5 top tips and they scroll through. Equally, though, with a static post, you might just have the 5 tips listed, but keep it very, very short. So they always work extremely well. The next one is called influencer collaborations, and I'm always in two minds about influencer marketing. Definitely a place for it, and in my mind, though, and we do a little bit with our clients, and it can be a bit hit and miss, and it depends who it is. If this influencer has got a huge database or followers, how many of those are actually going to walk through into your salon? So there's that side of it to think about. But the other side of it is, if this person is really well known and maybe they're big in the state where you are in Australia, or they're national across New Zealand or wherever, it might just be enough to position your brand with that person, rather than worrying about getting the people through the door. But it makes interesting content. The only sort of watch out there is that you have a really good agreement in place of what they are going to post and when they're going to post, and what they allow you to post on your Instagram feed. With clients that we've worked with, the agreement is that they will provide us with before and afters, and they'll make comments and tag us in and things like that. So it does work, does have a place, but there's quite a bit of work that goes on behind the scenes in order to get the content out and get it out properly. So yeah, something to think about and to play around with. The next one is interactive content, and I talked about that earlier. A carousel actually is interactive because someone has to swipe, but interactive content is more so in the stories environment, where the stories are lasting for 24 hours. So people can take an action, they can click on a link and go somewhere, or they can swipe up and get more information. So again, just have a look in the stories app, within the app, and just play around with all the features that are in there, because people love the engagement. And don't be despaired if you do stories and you're trying to get engagement and you get no engagement to start with. It does take time, but if you're doing it consistently, people will start to see you, and they'll start to engage. The next one is an obvious one, and again, this is a topic as opposed to a format, but you could choose a format to do this. This is inspirational quotes. And I know we see lots of them, and lots of them are recycled, and it's the same quote and things like that. But I mean, if you can create your own quote, something that you believe in, or there's so many quotes out there. Just find one that's not quite so commonly used, I guess, but people actually do love quotes, and they're a good filler for content. Great in a story, great in a static post. And, it might just be the thing that inspires that person for the day. And generally, inspirational quotes are about self-care and well-being, or enjoy the long weekend, or whatever it is that's coming up. But you can never go past an inspirational quote. It might just make the difference to someone on that day. And your call to action at the bottom could be tag someone who needs to hear this today, or something like that. So it's more of a sharing thing, but hopefully you might get some shares and a little bit of engagement there. So yeah, inspirational quotes, always good. And then the last one here is live streaming, like we're doing now. And everyone goes, I don't want to live stream, it's scary. And it isn't actually scary, but when you're starting out, it can be. And I know when I started doing lives, I was really nervous and I didn't want to make any mistakes and I didn't want to stumble or anything like that. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get on there and go, oh my God, I don't really know what to say, but it will be fine. And people love it when you're natural and normal, and no one expects you to be perfectly manicured and having it all right. In fact, they prefer it if you're just normal. And even if it's a 5-minute live and you hop on there and you talk about something that you're really familiar with, like a hair care tip, or how to maintain your blonde hair, or shaping your eyebrows, or just something really simple, and then you'll forget that the camera is there and you'll just be able to talk about it. So live streaming is great. People love it. Again, it might take a bit of time to get that kind of following, but you can do a little bit of a live streaming and then put it into a story if you want to. And if you really want to, you can save it. You can do a video, you can do a reel. Yeah, so there's a lot you can actually do with that. And obviously you can then, just post it across onto Facebook if you want to. But again, Instagram loves things that are live and moving. So those are my 10 tips. And that's, yeah. So yeah, 10 format tips, but some topics in there as well. I think, as we said earlier, you don't have to just bite off all 10 to start with. And one thing to remember is called repurposing content. So that's another marketing term. Basically, it just says, create a piece of content and what other formats can you put it in? And there, you might create it today, post it there, and next week you might post it over there in a different format. So have a think about that, leveraging your content as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring up repurposing content as a little thing, because it's exactly like when we do our live streams. It's such a... In the past, when we used to do live streams, we would take the live stream, we would stream it to Facebook, we would then put it on YouTube, we would put it on Instagram, we would then like write out what was said, make a transcript, and then turn it into a blog. And then it's like using the content that you get from that one video into a whole bunch of different things. You can make quote posts from it. So if you don't want to do an inspirational quote, if you think that you want to make your look on Instagram a bit more educational, and if that's what you're going for, that's great. Quote your team. If you have someone if there's someone at your salon, let's say you're a hair salon, and you have someone that they specialize in blondes, and they talk about, like, just in conversation really, some things that people, if they've gone blonde, maybe 3 ways to maintain the color or maintain the healthiness of their hair. And then you can either get them to record that if it's the stylist, or if you've got a team member that isn't so comfortable on the camera, write a quote about it and put it on the picture. You can then turn that into a live if you wanted to, and you can interview your staff and say, Kirsten here is the person at our salon that does our blondes. She is the most incredible person. She makes sure your hair is healthy. We're going to talk to her about the 3 things to think about, or whatever, to maintain it. That kind of stuff. It's getting one piece of content, repurposing it, either repurposing the same content, so the same video in different places, or you convert it and transform it into different things. It was really cool. I did have a question actually, Kirsten, about, so if someone's going to take a video or a photo on their phone, does it matter if they use the camera inside the Instagram app, or the camera app on their phone? Does it make a difference to how Instagram uses that content or puts it out?
No, in my experience, no.
Cool.
Some would say that anything that's used inside the Instagram app is preferred, but then I don't know how it can tell, but then maybe it can tell
Yeah.
because the algorithm knows lots of things. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I personally, I like to take my video outside of the Instagram app
Yeah.
and then I kind of play around with it and do it there. But I guess it
Yeah.
just comes down to personal preference.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, well, the reason I was asking is because, yeah, like, I feel like phones are so good now with their camera apps. You can
Yeah.
do slow motion video. You've talked about the portrait mode on cameras now. All of that, as far as I'm aware of, that can be in your camera app, but the Instagram kind of camera part just takes a photo or a video. You don't get to
Yes.
choose many of the quality settings.
No,
So
and I,
if you're wanting to do like a flick of the hair, I can't do it with my hair, but a flick of the hair in slow motion, you can do that with the slow motion mode on your phone
you
if you've got
can.
it, and
Yeah.
then it will look really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also also I find that if I'm using the Instagram app to create a story at the time and I'm taking a
Yeah.
video or something, you kind of got to deal with it at the time. You've got to,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
you can't necessarily save it and then go back to it. But so I tend to prefer to want to be able to sit back and go, okay, what am I going to do with this? So that's the
Yeah.
difference for me. But yeah, personally, I do it outside of the Instagram app, but I don't think it makes any difference to the performance of it at all.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your tips. Yeah, for those of you who are watching, we hope you enjoyed it. If you either, maybe you haven't started an Instagram, you just started it, or you've got one but you want to, give it a bit of a facelift, we hope that you can take some of the tips and tricks and information that Kirsten's provided today. Kirsten also has a wonderful ebook that you can download for free called The Salon Owner's Guide to Instagram Marketing, and it's full of information in a really lovely format. It's so nice to read. So I highly recommend you download that and take a look. You can find that if you're watching this on Facebook in the comment section. On Instagram, it'll be in the link in our bio. And if you're watching this on YouTube later, it'll be in the description box below. Otherwise, make sure you're following us on social media. You can follow Kirsten and the team at Savvy Salon Marketing at Savvy Salon Marketing. And you can follow us here at Kitomba, at Kitomba Software. And we continue to bring you tips and tricks on, how to grow your salon, master your business, and market it effectively, and so much more. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, we can't wait to see you next time.